if you need to pull a heavy object and you don't have enough strength for it, you can use this as a manual winch. Put the paracord through this hole right here. Tie it up. And then use a tree thinner than this length here, but strong enough. Then start rotating it. Like this, you actually have significantly more force and leverage than if you drag it with your own hands. And you can even drag a lightweight car like this, depending on how hard it is stuck into the mud or wherever it is stuck. So use the handle, pry, and then roll it over. Then pry again and roll it over. Then pry again and roll it over. And you have a lot of power like this. This is how you improvise a manual winch. Lock it into this position, and you have these small shoulders right here which can serve as a stand for your fishing rod. When the fish bites, now notice that I did all of this with it while being completely blunt, so only from its power, because as you see it is completely blunt. This triangular shape of the handle allows you to grab it with both hands close to the end of the handle, which allows you full leverage and also full power, having still some space between the hands. In boxing you have the right hook and also the right swing cross for the overhand, which is one of the most powerful punches that the human body can develop. And also in other martial arts you can have the reverse punch, which is also one of the most powerful, especially if you hit it with the back of the forearm. Now if you grab this with both hands from here, you have full leverage because both of the hands are at the end of the handle, as far away as possible from the blade, and at the same time you have these two powerful punches combined into one. So you can just swing it with the full power of your body with both hands and have full power. This is also a boat pedal. If you need to change the wheel of your car on the off-road and you have muddy terrain or just soil underneath, don't put the car jack directly on top of the ground, because it will just get into the ground instead of lifting your car up. place it on top of the shovel. Put the shovel with the face down, and then you have a larger surface on this blade with the handle, which will not get too deep into the ground. And then you can place the actual car jack on top of this, where you see these 4 rivets here. So just place it here on this surface and just lift the car. If you find yourself stuck into the mud and you have a winch but you don't have any tree to tie it around, then use this as a ground anchor. Add a small lanyard here, you will see immediately why. Now, to pull it out, using this lanyard, as you have just seen, one shovel can drag a 7-seater car. But remember that you can always combine the force of multiple shovels. So combining the shovels from all the regiment, you can actually drag a tank, a boat, or whatever you need. This is also a crowbar. Put that corner of the rectangle inside there, lock it up, and then you can use this for forcible entry to break out or unlock a car door in case of accidents, to save someone, or to lift heavy things. Insert this between the door and the locker, and then force it. Also hammered onto here so that you insert it easier, and then you can just lift heavy objects pretty easily. You can also use your foot to step onto it. You can place the corner of this rectangle inside there, lock it up in this position, and this is a shield. So you actually can use this in conjunction with another weapon for close combat. Now, I know we are not in the old times when people fought with spades and shields, but in an emergency situation you can still use this in conjunction with a small knife or something else, so that you can face up somebody who has a much longer weapon with a lot of reach. And the nice thing about this is that this plate can stop even a katana and damage its edge. This has a flattening effect on any thin structure like an edge. It can damage sharp tools, and at the same time, if for example a sword strike falls and slips down from this, you still have this part of the handle that protects your forearm. And you can actually use this also to rush somebody who has a gun. It can also stop small caliber bullets. It will obviously not stop the rifle bullets unless they come from a significant distance, but it can stop small caliber bullets. And you can actually rush somebody who has a gun if you go from the blind spot and want to risk less than just rushing him without coverage. And you can easily notice that if I use the proper position, I can actually hide most of my body stamp behind it, even if it's really short. This seems pretty small compared with the overall shape and size of my body, but you can notice if I use it properly and close the angle, closing the gap and reducing the chances that you can shoot around it. I know you don't believe me, so we will test it in real life. We'll use a toy gun so that my friend here will have no hesitation to shoot me right away, and let's see how much chances I have to catch him before he shoots me. We'll also give him a little bit more advantages than in a real life situation. For example, he will know that I will come from that direction. He will know when I come. He will have the gun already in the hand, loaded and ready to shoot. And he knows that I have a small shield that he needs to avoid and to shoot the other parts of my body. Start! I got the first one. Let's try again. Start! One more time. Start! Let's do it again, fourth time. Start! So we tried it 4 times and he didn't succeed even once. You can use it to dig very quickly a trench or a trench around the tent to drain the water, and you can also use it to dig foxholes if the ground is really tough and difficult to dig in the normal way. With this position you can lift it above your head and strike really hard. This is a hoe and a pickaxe. Lock it in the same position as the shield and you have a climbing anchor. Also, in this shape, it is a fire poker. Pack your food into some leaves, put them on here, place them into the fire. Once the cook has finalized, you can also pull them away from the fire. You can also adjust the burning wood with it. Now, lock it in this position and you have a hammer. Also in the same position you have a sledgehammer that you can handle with both hands, having a significant leverage. And just start like this, and then hammer with both hands and full power. You also have a big knot here. Another usage for this is that of a blood and lymph drainer, massage kind of stuff. If you get fever in the wild or muscular pains, just use it like this. For your back, just place it like this, one hand here, one on the middle, and drain it up. Chest and legs. Just try to relax this leg and drain it up. This can really help at the end of a trail. Now, this is significantly more stable than using only your elbows, and it also has the advantage that you can actually stay completely flat to the ground and continue to shoot. If you are on concrete and you cannot insert this into the ground, just lock it in this position instead. Place it like this, and you won't have the same stability, but it's still more stable, especially during the recoil, than if you use only your elbows. As a weapon, this has the combined power of a full-sized axe with this dent right here, these serrations for deeper penetration, and this sharp edge right here, combined with the pointy tip of a spear, which can pierce through heavy things. You can use it to thrust, you can extend your thrust, and this handle right here allows you to use all of your leverage and reach while also having your full power to push. It can also be held like this with two hands and deliver a full axe blow, and you can also use classic movements of a shovel with a double grip like this to deter a bayonet mounted or a rifle. You can hit from underneath, you can hit from above, you can actually push at every point, and you can also rotate this thing to avoid being caught from it and to avoid being disarmed. If you are caught from it, don't forget that this has sharp edges and you have a very comfortable grip right here, so you are able to pull it back. Even from an extended grip, you still have an advantage pulling it back compared to the attacker, which holds the sharp edges. If you find yourself facing someone who has a baseball bat or a sword or whatever that puts your hands in danger and you want to protect your hands, this triangular shape here allows you to have a grip that resembles that of a sword with a proper hand guard. So you can actually hold it like this, tail down, and you can actually block with this part because your hands are safe here. Block it here and hit. Block it here and hit. Block it here, then stab. It is a scraper and you can make good tinder with it. You can use both this serrated edge and this other edge to do the same thing, and you can scrap the ferro rod. I can actually step on it, and this triangular handle allows me to use the leverage. I can also control this rotation, so even if the load is uneven and I have a little bit more on one side, it will still not rotate because I can control the rotation from here. These serrations here are intended to help you dig easier and faster through roots and vegetation. This D-shaped handle is a newer invention that is intended to ease your life because it allows you to control the rotation axe in case your load is uneven on the blade of the shovel. And you can see this type of handle on all high cost and high quality
shovels. The entrenching tool is no exception. It also has this triangular shape for this purpose, but the older military shovels didn't have it because it wasn't invented by that time. If your screw is too large and doesn't fit in here, what you need to do is to clamp it like this, and with this clamp you can actually catch any size of screws. And you have significantly more force than you would have with your fingers. You can use this screw as a vise here. So I tightened it so hard that it actually broke. If you have a metal wire, for example this is a steel one, which is bent and has a lot of bends, and you want to straighten it up, just put it onto a tree, press the shovel on top of it, and then drag, and it's straightened. This has volume and is very lightweight, so it will always remain behind, ensuring you that it will fly tip forward. You can use bold colors if you don't want to risk losing it in the grass, or you can use camo colors if you want it to fly unnoticed. If you're tired and everything around is wet, damp, or you simply don't have where to sit, you can just use this as a comfortable chair. You can also use this as a length measuring instrument. It has exactly 15 centimeters from this corner to this one as a straight line. So 15, 30, 45, 60. and it also has exactly 43 centimeters from here to here. Don't use it from the tip, because the tip gets weared out, and whenever you resharpen it, it loses a little bit of its length. Imagine that you have a military or camp canteen where everyone needs to eat, but you don't have enough plates. Now, let this loose from here, wash it thoroughly, then put it like this and let it loose. It is a plate. And you can eat. It can also be used as a stove. Lock it into this position, insert it into the ground, and then you can set up the fire right here and put your frying pan or whatever boiling recipient you have on top of it. The fire will not affect the shovel blade if it burns here, and this is also very stable. Even if it boils hardly, it will not fall. Because of this smooth and large surface here, it is actually a good candidate for a tent pole, for the tarp pole. So I will just stick it right here into the ground, and this can come after it to give me a little bit more space on the feet. It's also a porta party. You can dig a small hole into the ground, then you can just stand it, or you can put it under one of the legs like this and do your business. This is also an improvised bucket. If you are far away from the water and you cannot reach out to the water directly, but you have a rope and an entrenching tool, you can use this as a bucket. It's not much water, but in an emergency situation, this is actually very helpful. Alternatively, you can use the sheath, place a garbage bag inside it, because the garbage bag is too lightweight, it will not get underwater, and also it's really weak, and by itself it may not be able to sustain the weight of the water. So place the garbage bag in the inside, make sure that it is widely open inside, then add a lanyard hole, insert this cord behind the actual bag, and then clamp this over the bag. Now, to be sure that you won't lose this, just open this and place it like this. This is just to secure it a little better. Drag these two ends and attach it to an additional cord. Now you unlock it and you can see the water inside. You this floats up and doesn't get under the water, you can always attach the shovel to this entire thing to make sure that it goes underwater. You can use the sheath to collect edible plants. Path clearance bushwalker. Obviously not as sharp nor as lightweight as a machete, but it can do it. This is a heat-treated steel bar, which is impossible to bend with bare hands. If you need to bend such a thing, place it into this hole right here, like this, and then bend it. And then you can straighten it back. This works as an emergency frying pan. You can place your food here and place it on top of your campfire to cook it. I do not advise you to do that because keeping this blade for a prolonged time in direct fire may affect the heat treatment, making it permanently softer. But in an emergency situation, if you have no other choice, you can still do it. Alternatively, you can put some large leaves like these ones here so that your food doesn't come in contact with this paint, and place your food on top of these leaves. Place it into the fire and cook. Alternatively, you can also leave your food on top of the leaves in fire and retract your shovel away from the fire. Then once they get cooked, take them and put out of the fire. If you get heat and end up with a contusion, you normally put ice in order to reduce the inflammation and swelling, but in the wilderness you may not find any ice around. This is full metal and does a very good job in dissipating the heat. So place this one on the ecchymosis place and press. And once it gets heated, just move the place to a different area of the plate. It feels very cool, and even the handle, because it's aluminum alloy, it does a good job in dissipating the heat. So you can use either this or the blade for the same purpose. It acts just like a cold compress. If I want to measure a remote object that is far away, potentially in the enemy territory or on the other side of a river where I cannot reach, or if it's just too high for me to reach up there and measure it normally, I can use this handle of the shovel. For example, let's say that I want to measure the height of that street light pole right there. I will place my shovel with the handle. I will move this away from me all the way till the margins of the pole are touching the margins of the inside hole of the handle. In that moment, I will stop there and I will measure the distance from the shovel handle to my eye. The NATO standard entrenching tool has been invented by the Amos Company in the United States during the Vietnam War. In the meantime, it has become the NATO standard trench shovel for all of the NATO countries. This particular one is from the German military, and you can see this stamp here saying Bund, which is the short for Bundeswehr. This particular one is about 30 years old, and it has been highly abused both by myself and by the military who owned it before myself. These German ones are fixed with 4 rivets right here and have a slightly different architecture of the attachment than the ones made in the United States, which have 3 rivets instead. But as long as we talk about genuine military issued ones, it doesn't really matter from which NATO country you take it, they should all be just as strong and reliable. There are a lot of fakes and replicas that resemble this shape more or less, many of which look exactly the same but are made out of cheaper materials. Now, these genuine military issue ones have very strong aluminum alloy in the joint and a special steel in the blade. This aluminum alloy is something like grade 70-75 or something similar, which offers the best trade-off between durability, strength and low weight. The best way to ensure that you got a genuine military one is to get a used one from a military surplus store. Please note that for the purpose of this entire video I have used a completely dual e-tool, which I use for training. If you sharpen it properly, it will surely do even better some of these tasks. Now, the reason why I use the dual one is to show you what it can do being dual, because in most situations this is how your shovel will be. As long as you dig with it in the ground and it gets in contact with hard soil and rocks, it will always be dual. I hope you find these tips useful. If you found at least one thing useful in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, to share it with your friends, and to subscribe for seeing more videos like this.